Nigeria, I do not believe it was created by God. I don't believe it. Awolowo, Tafawa Balewa, Amadu Bello, and Azikiwe, they are not the founding fathers of Nigeria, in my opinion. The founding fathers of Nigeria are some men from Whitehall and a fellow called Tom Goldman, his girlfriend, she named the country, and also Lugard. This nation was created for the business of the British purse, so they wouldn't have to bear the bill for the not as prosperous and unwealthy part of the country. As far as Africa was concerned, two empires got together and decided that this land will go to the sons of Ishmael.
I know you're all excited with what Paul Adefarasin is saying, but I'm sorry, he's sounding like a broken record. This is not the first time we are going to hear that Nigeria was not created by God. This is not the first time we are going to hear that Nigeria was created for the sole purpose of the British Empire business, for the sole purpose of ease of administration. The creation of Nigeria has nothing to do with growth, prosperity, and progress. The creation of Nigeria has nothing to do with unity. It was created by the British Empire for their own pleasure, for their own leisure, for their own administrative purposes. The amalgamation that happened in 1914 was never meant to happen. The bringing together of the North and South together was a forceful marriage. It is something that has held this country spellbound. It is country that has held this country backwards from growing and developing. Because explain to me how a country like Nigeria, 220 million citizens, rich in mineral resources, is still struggling with poverty, is still struggling to feed her people, is still struggling to provide electricity to her people. As of 2025, Nigeria, that is regarded as Africa's most populous country with over 200 million people, remain a paradox. Nigeria is rich in resources, yet it is mired in poverty and underdevelopment. Despite being the continent's largest economy by nominal GDP, Nigeria faces severe challenges that prevent it from translating potential into widespread prosperity. Inflation hovers over 30%, which has eroded purchasing power and increased hardship for millions of Nigerians. Nigeria is plagued with poor infrastructure, crumbling roads, unreliable electricity, and inadequate health care, which has stifled businesses and daily life of the citizens. Insecurity is the order of the day, which include banditry, kidnapping, and insurgencies in regions like the Northwest, the Northeast. You have the menace of Fulani herdsmen in the North Central. You have the activities of the unknown gunmen kidnapping in the Southeast, the South-South, and the Southwest. All of this has disrupted agriculture and investment. Unemployment starts at an alarming levels, particularly among the young Nigerians, which had fueled social unrest and migration to other parts of the country. How can you explain this level of decadence in a country that is blessed with so many human and mineral resources? To understand what is happening to Nigeria, you need to know that the story of Nigeria did not begin with the unity of the people, but with colonial expediency. In 1914, under the direction of Lord Frederick Lugard, the British High Commissioner, the Northern Nigeria Protectorate and the Southern Nigeria Protectorate were amalgamated into a single entity known as the Colony and Protectorate of Nigeria. This merger that led to the birth of a nation was driven primarily by economic and administrative motive rather than any vision of a cohesive and prosperous society. The Northern Protectorate was vast but landlocked, and it faced chronic budget deficit due to limited trade and revenue sources. But in contrast, the Southern Protectorate, with vast access to the coastal area and thriving export of palm oil, cocoa, and other commodities, this enabled the Southern region to generate enough revenue. In order to reduce the cost of administration, to solve the deficit problem in the North, the British Empire decided to bring together the North and the South, and they used the resources from the South to offset the deficit in the North. That was what gave birth to this country called Nigeria. This amalgamation was not about fostering a national identity among over 250 ethnic groups, but about exploiting resources for the British Empire. The people living in Nigeria were not consulted to be amalgamated. They just wake up one morning and they notice that they have been joined together in an unholy alliance and matrimony. Over a century since that amalgamation occurred, the 1914 amalgamation legacy has left nothing but a fractured nation where false unity breeds division and hamper progress. By merging desperate ethnic, religious and cultural groups, Hausa Fulani in the north, Yoruba in the southwest and Igbo in the southeast, without regard for their histories or aspiration, the British sowed seed of perpetual conflict. This forced marriage has manifested in ethnic tensions, resource disputes and a lack of national cohesion, all of which has stifled economic and political development in Nigeria. This forced marriage has brought nothing but tribalism and nepotism, which is on the rise in this country. Political appointments often favoring regional interests over merit, leading to inefficient governance and corruption. After the expiration of the colonial rule, the colonial masters handed over Nigeria to the military government. These military leaders, who lacked leadership acumen, took turn in pillaging and plundering this country. When they were exhausted in plundering this country, they handed over the country to a civilian government in 1999. But they handed over a battered Nigeria to the civilian government. Not only a battered Nigeria, with a dysfunctional constitution. Nigeria is currently using the 1999 constitution, which has further compounded the issues in this country. It was promulgated on May 5th, 1999 by the military regime of General Abdul Salami Abubakar as Decree number 24. The Nigerian constitution was drafted by a committee appointed by the military, drawing from the 1979 constitution but with modification to suit transitional needs. It was adopted by the Provisional Ruling Council without a referendum or broad public input. The 1999 constitution was not meant to serve the people but the political leaders in this country. The 1999 constitution creates a centralized system that undermines economic efficiency and fosters corruption. Over-centralization concentrates power in the federal government. It limits state fiscal autonomy and discourages local economic initiative. Explain to me why a state like Kano and other states in the north that doesn't approve the production and sales of alcoholic beverages in the north will go to Abuja and get revenue from the sales of alcohol in the south. The constitution stifles healthy competition. States stay idle and wait till the end of the month to go to Abuja and get revenue without utilizing the resources at their disposal. This is the reason why poverty is predominant in every part of the country, because power is concentrated in the hand of the politicians, and they are using that power to stifle economic activities in the country. Without referendum and self-determination, the people are forced to stay together. Despite fighting a 3-year civil war, Nigeria is still at war. There is no peace. Tribalism, ethnicity, nepotism is the order of the day in Nigeria, and this has breed corruption. This country was never created or meant to prosper. It was never created to serve the people. It was created to serve the interests of the British Empire and the politician. That is the reason why the most prosperous activities in Nigeria today is politics. The time to dismantle this forced marriage has come. People get married, and when they are not satisfied in that marriage, they go their separate ways in peace. I mean, the law of the land allows for divorce. Why can't the law of the land in Nigeria allow for separation of this entity called Nigeria? The people were not consulted. They were forced into this union. If you don't want to dissolve this entity called Nigeria, then you should do the right thing. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria needs to be unbundled. There is no reason why power should be concentrated in the hands of few people. How do you allow just 1% of the citizens that are made up of the politicians to determine and decide the future of 99% of Nigerian citizens? It makes no sense. How do you encourage a situation whereby the country will be over-reliant on the production of oil from the south, whereas we have vast land in the north that can be cultivated for export purposes? Even with the vast land in the north, Nigeria can barely feed her citizens. Every state is focused on the oil derivation coming from the Niger Delta. No, this is not sustainable. This has not been sustainable. Every state should be meant to control and manage their resources. Run your state from the revenue that was generated in your state. This will lead to healthy competition and will discourage the wastage we are seeing in Nigeria today. Through federalism, we eradicate a lot of things. It will eradicate nepotism, ethnicity, tribalism that we are experiencing in our country. It will eradicate corruption because everyone will be more focused to develop their region, and the focus on developing one region will lead to electing competent hands into office. We can't continue like this in this country. Just like the Bible verse Pastor Paul Adefarasin quoted in Psalm 11 verse 3, if the foundations are faulty, what can the righteous do? This captures Nigerians' plight. We must dissolve this forced marriage called Nigeria or start working to correct the faulty foundation that this nation was built upon. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.